So now for our speaker. Today, probably no stranger to many of you in the room here, Sheriff Rich Stanek is here with us. He's the 27th Sheriff of Hennepin County. He was first sworn in on January 1st, 2007, and was re-elected in 2010 and 2014, and is currently serving his third term. Sheriff Stanek is a lifelong resident of Hennepin County, growing up in northeast Minneapolis. He's a 35-year veteran of law enforcement, serving with the Minneapolis Police Department, rising through the ranks of patrol officer to commander of the Criminal Investigations Division. While serving as a police officer, he was elected to the Minnesota House of Legislature 5 times, where he served as the chair of the Crime Prevention and Public Safety Committee. Sheriff Stanek has brought new awareness to several emerging public safety threats. He coordinated town hall meetings and legislative advocacy to target the heroin epidemic, prescription drug abuse, and human trafficking. In Minnesota, he has led the effort to improve treatment for inmates with mental illness by expediting medically appropriate care. On the national level, Sheriff Stanek participated in President Obama's law enforcement working group that addresses the intersection of mental illness and gun violence. And at his direction, the Sheriff's Office was named as one of 15 demonstration sites for the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. So Sheriff Stanek is with us here today to talk about opioids and mental health. And so with no further ado, Sheriff Rich Stanek.
Thanks very much, Chief, for introducing me, and thanks to all of you for having me out here on a beautiful Monday afternoon across Hennepin County. Keep in mind, I'm a Maple Grove Rotarian, right? I've been a member of Rotary for a number of years. Transferred to the downtown Rotary because I hated getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning to be at Rotary. So your noon meetings are really good, really good. Look, we're going to move through this fairly quick. I have what, like 20, 25 minutes? Good? 25? Perfect. Cal McDaniel's with me. Cal's the good-looking guy in the back of the room. Cal heads up our community engagement team. He's really good at what he does, but he's always got that big smile on his face, and he is like the poster boy for a law enforcement officer across this county, right? Little kids look up to him, adults fear him. I mean, it's just one of those things. No, I don't know, whatever. Cal gets it. And we love working with Bloomington Police. Jeff, internal guy, when you hired him, he does a good job for you. You're very lucky to have him and the men and women who work out here in Bloomington. My thing's going to move through pretty quick. And so I encourage you, right, this is interactive. If you have questions or comments, you don't have to raise your hand, because then I think you're going to the bathroom. If you walk out early, that's okay. That's why Cal's guarding the door. But just shout it out, because my job here today is just to pique an interest in terms of this issue about opioid overdose and drug awareness and heroin, right? Most people, it's foreign to them. They really don't understand the correlation or the connection between the two. I'm hoping, though, like I said, to pique your interest a little bit. Well, that's just what 35 years of public service does to you. I started 35 years ago. I'm a Minneapolis cop by trade, and then I'm on leave to serve as the elected sheriff of the county.
Rick, did that say you started in 1852?
Yeah, exactly. You know what's interesting, though, is think about that. 1852 was when the sheriff's office came into existence. The last 3 sheriffs, and now myself, have taken up 84 years out of 166 years of service. What does that tell you? Yeah, sheriffs last a long time, right? Now, I don't plan on being here 28 years like Sheriff Omont. However, I absolutely love public service, and I love public safety, and that's what makes it work at the end of the day. But the last 3 sheriffs, McGowan, Omont, and Ryan, took up 70 years of service in this county. Hennepin County is a big place for those of you that maybe not as familiar with it, but 1.3 million people, 45 cities, 1 unorganized territory. Where do you think that is? And Minneapolis is not included. Airport. Yeah, close. Fort Snelling, right? You got the VA, and you got the Guard, and the Air National Guard, and the bases down there. They also have about 3,500 residents. They're continuing to grow and grow. They've got more residents down there than I think 7, if not 8, cities across Hennepin County now. And it's still in an unincorporated area. And then we work with 45 cities, 36 local police departments like Bloomington. If a city wishes to have a local police department, they're welcome to do so. They work for their mayor and their city council, local property tax dollars. In the sheriff's office, our line of demarcation is we defer to the local law enforcement agency for what they want to handle. You know, every city's different. You go from Dayton way over on my northwestern border down to Bloomington, which is full service, Minneapolis full service, and then the other 42, 43 are somewhere in between in terms of what they provide. The sheriff's office provides the backdrop for law enforcement, which simply means that, you know, if they don't provide the services, we will, and if they need help providing those services, we'll help them to the degree or the extent that the local police chief and or the mayor and the council want that assistance, right? And that's the way we've always done our business. Our agency is much the same as Bloomington Police. Day-to-day operations run by the Chief Deputy, Jeff Storms, and then our 3 majors in uniform there oversee about 1,100 personnel, 800 plus, 840 of them is full-time, another 300 or so part-time special deputies, folks who work county-wide, and then Julianne Ortman and Tim Stout are non-sworn positions in our command staff. All told, the 5 in uniform there, myself and the other 4, have 160 years of law enforcement service in this county alone.
I'm Annette Parker. I believe that diversity is important, and I wanted to be a part of an agency that believed in that.
Hi.
Setahai.
Nojol.
Marhaba. I am a forensic technician.
I'm a 911 dispatcher.
Senior cook.
A crime analyst and detention deputy with the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office.
I am one of more than 800 employees
And 300 volunteers in the Sheriff's Office.
Who serve the 1.3 million residents
In Hennepin County every day.
As one of the largest law enforcement agencies in Minnesota,
we provide assistance and services
to residents of all 45 cities in the county
and are working together to ensure public safety.
We have more than 65 job types
and volunteer opportunities within our agencies.
Several are available to anyone who is 18 years of age or older
and has completed high school.
who speak more than a dozen languages.
We have more than doubled our employee diversity rate.
And 15% of us are military veterans.
As a national leader in 21st century policing,
we want our agency to be reflective of the values and diversity of the county.
I am proud to work for this agency
and serve our residents because I am the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office.
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 I am the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. And as sheriff, I am proud to serve side by side with the men and women in our agency who have chosen a career in public service. Every day we strive for excellence and professionalism in our work and have sworn an oath to serve every resident with compassion, dignity, and respect. For many, a career in law enforcement is a calling. I've served in law enforcement for more than 35 years, and I look forward to seeing the next generation of law enforcement leaders grow their careers here in our agency. You can learn more about our agency and our numerous job and volunteer opportunities at hennepinsheriff.org. You know, I didn't know they had embedded that in there until it came up, but you know, it just gives you an idea about the diversity of the agency, right? Not just the diversity of Hennepin County as it continues to grow. Like I said, when I came in as sheriff, there was about just under 1.1 million, and close to 1.3 now, and probably still others who are undercounted in terms of a representative population. But even our agency, we went from about 6% diversity to about 17.6% today. Over a third of my agency are women, and it continues to grow. Our numbers really haven't grown in terms of sworn. We sit at about 840 employees, and we hover somewhere around 820 that are on the payroll at any one time. I hired 12 very diverse detention deputies the other day. All of our sworn deputies come in as detention deputies. That is our training or proving ground. We don't use CSOs or others like some agencies. We bring them in as employees of our agency. They will go to work in that jail where they learn real quick compassion, dignity, respect. And then if they do a great job, we will what we call flip them or promote them to a sworn deputy in our agency. Cal's probably one of the few that didn't have to go that route, right? Because he came from another sheriff's office.
But I've had an opportunity to work almost every single line of business in which the sheriff will talk about right now.
We'll go through this real quick. So our 8 lines of business, this is what separates us out from a local law enforcement agency. When I say the backdrop, it just means that we provide all 8 of these services, and then, again, local autonomy, we defer to a local community to decide what level of service they want to provide. The more they provide, the less we have to provide, but we work in partnership or in tandem. The jail books about 35 to 40,000 people a year through the front doors. This year, maybe one of the lowest booking numbers in the 12 years I've been here, which is a good thing. Our court security for 8 different courthouses countywide, still 8. We're going to get down to 7 here pretty dang quick, though. 8 of them, and then 90 courtrooms and 75 judges and referees around the county. Our patrol division located out in Brooklyn Park, but they patrol countywide through all 45 cities, depending on what is, what's happening and what's going on. Our warrants and civil process are both mandated under state law, so whether it's chasing somebody down from the metro area or across Minnesota, across this country, or outside the boundaries of this country, we do so with our federal law enforcement partners through the U.S. Marshals and others. Our investigations division generally tend to focus on the reduction of violent crime countywide and narcotics. In our 911 dispatch, we do not dispatch for Bloomington, but we dispatch for 38 other cities and communities across Hennepin County, between Bloomington, Minneapolis, the Sheriff's Office, Airport, Med Transit Police, and the U of M. And then you've got Edina and St. Louis Park to a lesser degree. That comprises the 911 dispatch throughout Hennepin County. When I came in, there were 13 individual PSAPs, or public safety answering points. We're down to 7, arguably 8 today. So we've done a pretty good job of consolidating where the consolidation needs to be, but we also need the backdrop and the redundancy should something really bad happen. Like a few months ago, we had an outage in our 911 service, and a number of PSAPs were affected. Can you imagine if you can't call 911, what would you do? Who would you call? How would you get emergency police, fire, medical services? And then our crime lab, internationally accredited, they're located in downtown Minneapolis. They work really hard. And you see all these great TV shows like CSI and NCIC. You see them solve these crimes in 34 minutes or less with commercials. They're good, but they're not that good. They're getting there. Chapter 387 dictates the powers and duties of the elected sheriff countywide. So our duties are mandated in state law. And how many counties are there across Minnesota? 87. And how many sheriffs are there in Minnesota? 87, right? How many in Hennepin? That's right. Don't change that. I'm going to skip right over. So I'm going to skip right over to the opioid stuff because we just got a few minutes, and I just want to pique your interest about this. Look, last time you went to the doctor's office because you slipped and fell on the way down to the mailbox to grab the mail on the ice, or maybe you had a back strain because of something you did at work, or you're just getting old like myself at age 56 and you bend over and, or maybe you got chronic pain or illness. And you go to the doctor's office, right? And you come in and you height, you weight, you sit down, they put your finger in that little thing and they take your, what do you call that with your finger when they, the oxygen level, right? And then they want to know about your pulse and they want to know about your blood pressure. And then they say, well, are you safe in your home? That's always my favorite question as the sheriff, and I always answer, yes, I am. And then they'll say, well, so where do you score on the pain scale? And I went in the other day because I had a sinus infection which led to this, or maybe it's the other way around. And she went the other way on me she showed me this little thing, Cal, but she said from 10 down to 0, where do you score on the pain scale? And I said, oh, that's really tough. I'll give you a 4. And she goes, well, let me write you out this script for amoxicillin or something. Look, if you score 3 or above, they're gonna help manage your pain, right? Because that's what doctors and nurses do, and there's no problem with that. This is a legal, lawful thing, and if you go to the doctor and you're in pain for whatever reason, they want to help manage that, and we get it. The problem is so often people get addicted to it, or they don't know when to get off. And you can go to your primary care physician 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 times. But after the 3rd or 4th time, they're going to say, look, Rich, it's time maybe you transition to something else, or we're just not going to continue on unless you've got a chronic illness. There's a difference here between the two. And then maybe you'll run off to urgent care because you can probably get a script half the days from a doctor you don't know, but that's what urgent care is about. And maybe the 5th or 6th time you run to maybe North Memorial up in Maple Grove, or maybe down in Robbinsdale, or maybe HCMC or Fairview Ridges, or over to Regions, and you'll get a script at an emergency room. But at some point the game is up, right? And what happens when the game is up? What are you going to do when you're addicted? You're going to quit? No. You know, unfortunately, you look at the numbers, and we talk about this. It's the first time in my 35 years, and I've been around a long time like Jeff and other police officers and police chiefs and sheriffs around this county and the state. It's the first time we've seen where public safety crisis intersects a public health crisis, right? Some people say, well, it's a public health crisis. Other people say it's a public safety crisis. For the first time in 35 years, I've seen where the two intersect. And no one person owns this, no one profession, not the cops and the firefighters, not the doctors and the medical community, the elected officials. We all have, it's incumbent upon all of us to do our part, which is why I've been out to 160 plus Rotary, Lions, Optimist, Exchange. I mean, I've been everywhere over the last year talking about this. Groups of 25, 30 like you, groups of 5, audiences of 800, 900, 1,000 like we did a couple weeks ago out in Bloomington at their faith addiction conference. All we want to do is just pique your interest. Jeff talked about this weekend was National DEA Take Back, right? They do it a couple times a year. I'm glad you participated. We did, and you continue to do that. We did 3 of them countywide this weekend. We did Crystal, Robbinsdale, Brooklyn Center, because those agencies or cities weren't going to do them. And so we brought deputies and worked with the local law enforcement folks to provide that take back. The very first person I met in Crystal was about an 82-year-old guy named John, who was wearing his U.S. Navy veteran hat. He was very proud, and he came up in his cane, and he had 2 pill bottles. They were still in the bottle, and they were meds that he had taken for whatever, but you know, he no longer had a use for them. And he came up and he didn't shake my hand, he gave me a hug. And kind of unusual, right? I mean, I don't mind giving hugs, but usually somebody I know. And John said, well, look, my son Kenny, he called him Kenny, his name was Kenneth, died 4 years ago from an opioid overdose. And he appreciates that law enforcement has taken this on to help, whether it's DEA Drug Take Back Day or, you know, talking to groups like you or others. He'd heard me speak before, which is why he came to this particular location. He was actually in getting something, and he went out to his car, got his unused meds that he had probably under his front seat, I don't know, and then walked over to drop them and give them to us. We only took about 200 pounds at 3 locations in those smaller cities. Your city's about, you know, 5 times as large as Robbinsdale and Brooklyn Center and those folks, which made sense. But look, no matter what it is, over the last several years, we've taken 140,000 pounds of unused, unwanted, expired prescription meds through these drop boxes. And this time, in exchange, when they came up and gave us their unused meds, we gave them back a drug disposal pouch in exchange. So next time, they can do it themselves. I wish when you go to Walgreens, CVS, Maid-Rite, whatever your favorite pharmacy is, I wish every time they gave you a script, they'd give you a drug take-back pouch as well. You know what these things are? You guys use them out here, right? We gave them at National Night Out. We used them at the State Fair. We continue to provide them to residents. They're a really good thing. They're, you know, you can throw them in the trash when you're done. They're biodegradable as well. It's a good way to take it in your own hands and do something. You look at the numbers, right? Over the last 3 years, a 59% increase, exponential increase in overdose deaths in this county. Last year, 175. The year before that, 153. The year before that, 110. That's just in Hennepin County. And look around the room. If there's 45 or so of you here today or less, just think about that. Twice the number, 3 times the number, 4 times the number of people in this room. They're your nieces and nephews, your sons and daughters, your moms and dads, your colleagues, your peers. Those are the people who die. Every single one tragic, every single one preventable. I'm not putting blame on anyone, right? Wherever you are in life and whatever happened that you got addicted, it's incumbent upon all of us to do something about it, is it not? Yeah? To say something? Say something to somebody? Maybe have a heart-to-heart chat with the individual, maybe a cup of coffee, maybe go to their spouse or significant other or their friend or maybe your employer, whatever it might be. You think about already this year through August 1st, we've had 99 overdose deaths in this county. I hoped I wouldn't get over 100, which was a lofty goal, but we're about 8 weeks behind in terms of the numbers we get because you're not dead till the medical examiner says you're dead, and you didn't die from anything till the medical examiner tells me what you died from, and his numbers are about 8 weeks behind because every single one of these autopsies requires toxicology tests, blood tests, and it takes about 8 weeks to get those results back. But you think about that, 99 people already this year through August 1st. What do you think it is on October, what's today, 20-something? Yeah. We looked at it as a three-pronged approach across Hennepin County. There was nothing magic about the Sheriff's Office doing this. We partner with a lot of community, faith-based groups, the private sector. It was something we just wanted to start get the message out. There are a lot of different groups that do a lot of different things, but if you do anything at all, when you go home this afternoon at the end of the long workday, whatever it might be, and you go back to your bathroom and you go into that bathroom vanity and you look in the bottom drawer and you've got 2 or 3 pill bottles over the last year and a half, things you took, things you no longer need, things that you had some extras of, and why didn't you dispose of them? Because they're really valuable? Don't know how, you don't want to throw them into the water supply, down the toilet, down the sink. Well, bring them back into the Bloomington PD, but take them to one of our drop boxes across the county. Pick up one of these drug disposal pouches next time you go to Walgreens or CVS. They sell them there. And help us all out, right? Don't let them get diverted somewhere else. Yeah?
We've been told, some of us have been told not to put them down the toilet because it's gonna mess up stuff.
Yeah, putting them down the toilet or down your sink is probably the last resort, but the last resort is better than the other option, which is them getting diverted by kids, grandkids, someone else, someone that's addicted. And you'd be surprised, I was at a house party on Saturday night, Halloween party out in Chanhassen, my friend Mary Susan, and she had about 40 people in the house, and we're having this chat, right? And I asked her, I said, well, how many of you went to use Mary Susan's bathroom? Well, half of them. I mean, come on, it's a party, Halloween party. And how many of you have had somebody in your family addicted? Half a dozen hands went up. That's the kind of place where it happens, right? Unfortunately, we all have kids and grandkids. This is not a young person's problem, though. I had a 16-year-old girl last year, and I had a 92-year-old man die of an overdose, right? And all points in between. It's not just about Minneapolis. It's not about Bloomington or Champlin on our north end, or when you get out to Rogers way out northwestern part, or Delano, or any of those places. It happens countywide. 175 people spread out across this county. That's one of those drug take-back boxes. There are 14 of them located across Hennepin County. There are 18 different pharmacies that take back drugs now as well. They never used to, but they do now, and more every day. Primarily Walgreens and CVS, right? Hopefully you have a couple of them out here in your area as well.
Rich, just real quick for the group.
Yeah.
We have one, it's at the Walgreens at 98th and Lindale.
Good.
Any day of the week, you could take the pills, unused or unwanted, to the 98th Street Walgreens. In the pharmacy area, there's a box, drop them off, and you don't have to pay anything, you just leave them there and go away. That's the only site open in Bloomington every day of the week. Rich has a spot in Edina at the Southdale Courthouse that's open 7 days a week as well.
And every night, Sundays, holidays, we empty those things, and every night it's full. That's how we get 140,000 pounds over the last couple of years. We stopped counting. We don't sort them out. We just look at the tonnage and box them up, and they get incinerated. Go ahead.
Okay, so that, you just said it right there, so I was going to ask, what do you do with them? You just said that they are incinerated.
Just get rid of them. They're no value. We don't sell them to a third world country. We get rid of them. That's how we dispose of them, just like we do with our illegal narcotics, right? We try not to burn the marijuana. That doesn't always work out well, but we put them in a barrel and tamp it down and then throw it in the incinerator. But that's how we get rid of the narcotics that we...
So when they're incinerated, is there filtering systems? Because doesn't that stuff go out into the air?
We do it at the HERC in downtown Minneapolis. We used to have to take it out of state. But through the HERC, I can't remember what that thing stands for, but it's the Hennepin County Incinerator. They've got all that in place. Otherwise, the EPA would have never let us do it to begin with. And it took us years to get permission. We were transporting down to Indiana. We had to go up to Dakota up on our western border before that. Much more convenient now. Much more convenient. I don't know what CVS and Walgreens, where they take it to. Hopefully someplace similar. Go ahead, miss.
How do you dispose of marijuana?
Well, I don't know. Cal, you worked in narcotics. How do you dispose of marijuana?
I have And the process is very difficult. However, it involves maybe a U-Haul, I'll just say maybe, and you actually transport it, and you do incinerate it very hot, very high degrees, and I have done it several times, so that's all I'll say about it.
Well, there you go. Go ahead, sir.
I was listening to public radio coming home last week, and it was some public health official, I think maybe in Pennsylvania or Kentucky or whatever, but I was wondering if there's a problem here where they said there's been so much attentiveness to opioids that now meth is coming back. I mean, I assume this is a multifaceted thing where you really have to kind of watch every corner.
Yeah, so meth is making a huge comeback across the U.S., which is, unfortunate, but no big surprise, right? As you squeeze one end of the balloon, meaning the drug cartels and others, they come up with other ways. And so meth was pretty prevalent here. It has made a huge comeback across Minnesota as well as the upper Midwest and the rest of the country. We are not immune to this as well. And we're working on it. Hennepin County is covered by 5 narcotics task forces. Each of the narcotics task forces focus on their individual communities. You belong to which one, Jeff?
We have somebody on the DEA task force, and we have an internal drug unit.
Yeah, so you've got, he's got 2, and then you've got your neighboring communities around. We partner together both locally and federally. And, we're always busy, right? The answer to this drug thing isn't enforcement, it's prevention and intervention and treatment. You all know people that have been to treatment before, and it's not the first time, the second time, or the third time that it works. Sometimes it takes longer, but you can't give up on the individuals, whether your son, your daughter, your niece, or your nephew. You carry naloxone out here, correct? Narcan? This is a good thing. All of the deputies in the sheriff's office, all law enforcement in Hennepin County and firefighters now have access to Narcan naloxone. We now use OD mapping, which is just coming online over the last several months. Hopefully by June or so, we'll have some good data from it. And then from there, it'll be real-time data. You think about this, Minneapolis Fire last year in 2017 administered Narcan 700 times to residents of Minneapolis. Hennepin County paramedics administered over 1,000 times in 2017. We've had several deaths in the jail, people who are incarcerated that die from opioid overdose. Now, how could that possibly be, right? But hey, if you're addicted, you do whatever you have to do to secrete it, conceal it, and then you use it. We had to give somebody Narcan, 7 doses of it the other day down in Courts. That was brought in from another jail somewhere in the metro area. If the first time doesn't work, the second time won't. We're in the business of saving lives. That's why we use Narcan. Everybody who comes out of the jail gets access to Narcan as well if they want to take it on their way home.
But Narcan can you overdose from that?
No, you can't overdose from Narcan. It's really good. It's much like I akin it to smelling salts, right? If you're down and out, we're not sure what happened to you, put some smelling salts under your nose and you'll come back pretty good. Narcan, though, is a life-saving antidote. The first dose doesn't work. Our protocol is first responders, cops or firefighters on scene will give you a dose. When paramedics get there, they'll give you a second or a third dose. When you get to the emergency room, you'll probably get a 4th. And there are no side effects from it. It may make you a little angry and irritated, as smelling salts do, but it's better than the alternative, which is not being here, right? I got time for another question or two, and then I gotta.
That doesn't do anything for meth, though, does it? Or
no. Not really.
Since they're coming back.
Go ahead.
Sheriff, a little change of topic. You helped us go through the Hennepin County Jail, and you made a real point about how jail is not the place to have folks with mental health problems. And I'm just wondering, is anything really evolved? Are we advancing at all?
So often what first responders, the cops and the firefighters see out on the streets when we go to these calls, whether it's a 911 call or we come in contact with someone, we find folks that suffer from mental illness, some treated, some untreated. In the Hennepin County Jail, we just did a snapshot because we thought, well, here I have a captive audience, literally. And so I took a survey one morning, 850 of our inmates in jail, 6 a.m. on a Wednesday morning about a little over a year ago. 52% of the population in jail at the time, out of those 850, suffer from treated, untreated mental illness as diagnosed by a mental health professional or a physician. the numbers were staggering. We always hovered around somewhere between 25 and 33%, a quarter to a third. We had no idea it was over half. It's getting better in terms of how Hennepin County is dealing with it, whether it's an 18-bed facility, 16-bed facility down at 1800 Chicago, so the cops have an alternative to, instead of taking someone to jail, maybe bring them somewhere else where they can receive some of the services they need, other than just the incarceration. Those that are really bad and committed a bad crime, they're still going to go to jail. Or the county board now built me a 140-bed facility out at the county workhouse so that those who are incarcerated but suffer from mental illness can get the proper medical treatment they need, because in jail, you don't get medical treatment. We are not a treatment provider. We are a jail. We're an incarceration facility. Simple as that. But you gotta understand the other side, which is some of these folks don't know if they're coming or going through no fault of their own. It is what it is. And look around. You all have, I'm sure you do, as I do in my family, folks who have mental illness issues, right? And what do you do with them? How do you deal with them? I get calls from parents every single day. Hey, I won't keep you beleaguered. I just wanted to come out. I just wanted to pique your interest a little bit about prescription drugs. If you've got these things at home, look, if you use them, by all means use them. 3 minutes? I'm going to do it in 2. And I never gave back time. But if you've got prescription drugs at home, unused, unwanted, expired, get rid of them. Bring them in to do it for DEA Take Back Day. Take them to one of our facilities at the very least, and close your ears if you're environmentalists. Dispose of it however you want to dispose of it. Just dispose of it. Don't leave it laying around for one of the kids or the grandkids or a neighbor who might have an addiction issue to come get them, right? It's just the way it is. And with that, if I can be of help to your assistance, please don't hesitate to call again. I'm very happy to be here this afternoon. We love working with Bloomington and the other law enforcement agencies. That's what makes public safety in this county work. It is seamless. It doesn't matter whether it's a dark blue uniform or brown or maroon if you're unfortunate to get stopped by the state patrol, or light blue like Minneapolis. You call 911, you get seamless public safety services. That's what we guarantee you, right? All right, hey, thanks folks.